Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
What's up? Welcome, everybody. You are tuned in to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, DJ Youngs, back again, another day. I'm glad to hear you all, see you all, I guess. I don't really get to, but you get the point. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is a podcast, as I always say. That means you could listen to this at any place, anytime, anywhere. So I just like to cover all of the salutations. Greetings, everybody, okay? Football. That's what we're here for. That's why you tuning in. All right. Rundown of the show today. As usual, we always start off with new news, update you on what's happened in the past week. Okay. And then I'm going to go into the finale of our bottom to the top series, as I'll go over each division, the teams that came in last place and how they would make their way to the top. We're on our last two divisions in the NFC. So we're wrapping that up. Then I'm going to go into the rankings of the top 10 linemen in the league. I've been doing a different position each episode. We are now on the O-line. Tune in for that. And then I'm going to wrap it up with hot topics, okay? That's how it's going to be lined up. So let's get into it. New news. So right after the last episode, you guys got Patriots receiver, which everyone should know by now. Julian Edelman retires. Okay, Julian Edelman, the star wide receiver for the Patriots for many years now, has decided to call it by having his contract terminated for a failed physical due to the injury he had last year that it's affected him long term. He does become eligible for the injury protection benefit per their CBA agreement. This makes him available. It's available to all players in this situation, but this gives Edelman the ability to collect up to $2 million through the benefits. All right. So basically it's saying, due to injury in play that keeps you from physically being able to play in the future or making it to where your contract is terminated due to this, you can still get benefits to support you. So that's why he's able to get that. But yeah, man, retirement, that's a big deal for players, especially ones that have played 10 plus years, I'm sure. Think they'd like to go out on their own accord, not based off injuries. So it's unfortunate, but Julian Edelman had a great career. Okay, he was drafted back in 2009 in the 7th round by New England. He was a 232nd pick out of Kent State. All right, so definitely someone no one was looking for, but he's been with the Patriots this entire time. They've kept him, and he's made an impact. All right, throughout his career, he's played 137 games. 620 receptions. This is regular season, of course, though. Receptions, 6,822 yards. Okay, he averaged it over all these years, 11 yards per catch, which is great. He's had 36 touchdowns. Okay, and let's not forget that he has plenty of playoff numbers as well. This is just the regular season, as I said. Really good dude, man. He's someone that, originally was a wide receiver, transitioned over. Originally a quarterback, transitioned over to wide receiver seamlessly. He's got 3 championships on his finger. He got the rings, thanks to Tom Brady. He's been reliable. He's even had Super Bowl MVP, as we know, that he got the one year. So great career to Julian, man. He got big ups from Tom, of course, on social media. Belichick said plenty about him as well. You love to see stuff like this. He put out a video on social media, thanking Foxborough, the New England fans, and more. And you can definitely tell that he's come to terms with the situation. It's almost as if he knew beforehand. Because the same day that all the information came out that it was terminated, it was the same day that video came out. So him in New England, I'm sure, already had this conversation well in advance and planned out that media run with it on how it released. But good luck to him and his family. I'm quite sure this isn't going to be the last we see of him. I'm confident that he's going to be possibly on Fox or one of these places where he can be an analyst and talk the game, But congrats to that man. All right, next up, Cardinals signed former Steelers running back James Conner to a 1-year deal. It's a $1.75 million contract with $1.25 million being guaranteed and a $500,000 signing bonus. Just kind of like Julian Edelman, who didn't get to play many years, and more guys you'll hear about here. A lot of guys we've been hearing about. A lot of these guys are getting signed here right before the draft that weren't in the tops of the big free agency signings, or because they had like late injuries or injuries that were very significant that people weren't really sure how well things would be. So for James Conner, for example, if you don't remember, he was he was drafted in 2017 in the third round because of the injury, and he had an injury and some health issues that he had overcame coming out of Pitt, but it was well worth it because he had a decent season, decent career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. 50 games, 532 carries, 2,300 yards, 22 touchdowns. It was good rushing stats for that young man, and I'm happy to see that he's still pushing along and was able to find another team to go to because James Conner has a lot more to play for, I believe, in my opinion. I don't know if he's going to be a number one, especially not in Carolina. I could see them having somebody else or even drafting somebody to be their number one, but we will see. Other big signing of somebody is Browns signed former Titans defensive end Jadeveon Clowney. Got him on a 1-year deal worth up to about $10 million. The breakdown of that deal is that $4.5 million is the signing bonus, $2.5 million is the base salary guaranteed, $1 million is his roster bonus, and then $2 million in incentives. One for the amount of play time, and then $1 million for the amount of sacks that they are hoping to get. Haven't seen anything about the exact number of sacks they expect him to get that bonus. I'm pretty sure somebody will talk about it during the season as he's trying to achieve it. Of course, minutes, time play, because like I said, this guy's injured. He didn't get to play much last season with the Titans. He only got in by 8 games. Following his story, we know he was drafted in 2014, first round, first overall pick. Big deal, right? Coming out of South Carolina, going hard off that one video I think I mentioned in the episode before that, that one video of him destroying the quarterback definitely was something that went viral and helped his draft capital. Okay, but yeah, he played 5 seasons with the Houston Texans before going to Seattle in 2019 and then the Titans last season. Now he's made his way to the Browns, which, why is that crazy? Well, it's crazy because now you have 2 first-round picks on your defensive line. Yes, so the Cleveland Browns will now have a number 1 pick on both edges of their defense. Okay, they have Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney. Very disruptive. They actually wanted this last season. They tried to pursue him, but he ended up still going to Tennessee. So now that he was done with Tennessee, the Browns still want him, and he mentioned, he's very happy to still be wanted and, contribute. I'm hoping he's healthy. I believe he had a knee injury. That was what was holding him back. So if all's well, that is scary. Of course, Cleveland is talking about all kind of Super Bowl runs. I'm not trying to say that's not true, but I know if I'm a quarterback, I am terrified of this defensive line, of what could happen. All right. Next up, Browns sign 49ers wide receiver Marquise Goodwin. All right, Goodwin has 140 receptions for 2,300 yards and 13 touchdowns over his 7-season career with the Buffalo Bills, San Francisco 49ers, okay? He had a career best 962 yards in his 2017 season with San Francisco, and he did opt out last season, with the COVID stuff going on. And it was also his first year. He was supposed to be with the Philadelphia Eagles, so we never saw him play for that team. That's also why you haven't heard his name in a little while. Marquise Goodwin said he wanted to take a little break. But I guess, he's back. He's back on the field. We'll see what he has in store for us, I guess, right? Okay. Also, former Washington tight end Thaddeus Moss, son of Randy Moss, spoke about him last episode as he was released, has been claimed by the Bengals. Okay, so that means he gets to play again with Joe Burrow. They both were at LSU, and that's when they had the big run and was crazy successful at LSU. So, I think that's good. I think that Burrow's definitely going to look out for Moss. He had his little injuries and he recovered and being released, but, still had a chance to get out there and make a difference. And why not do it with somebody that helped put you on the map? Well, you both help each other put each other on the map because just as I always say, a receiver is a dependent role, so you definitely always have to thank your quarterback for getting the ball to you. But at the same time, if you don't catch that ball, that hurts the quarterback in his light, in his numbers. So I'm hoping both of those young men start this new season very healthy, coming back from their injuries, and do some great things out there in Cincinnati. I love, like I said, you guys know, I love just enjoying the game like anybody else. Just seeing good things happen for good people, especially athletically gifted individuals like most of the people in the NFL, okay? Can't wait to watch them boys go at it, all right? Buccaneers re-signed cornerback Ross Cockrell. All right, Ross Cockrell is somebody that's been jumping around for some years now. He did get drafted in 2014, 4th round to the Buffalo Bills out of Duke. Only played about 7 games with them. Ended up having to leave. Became a main starter in Pittsburgh after that for 2 years. Playing most of the games with them. Then he ended up at the Giants. Then he ended up in Carolina. And then he ended up at Tampa Bay this past season. So they re-signed him. And over his entire career with all these teams, he has 230 tackles. Good job for that. So they're bringing him back. Nothing too crazy, but the fact that they can just keeping everybody that they want, bringing every single person back that they want is mind-blowing for me. I don't know what's in the water up there if everybody just wants to, they had a heart-to-heart in the locker room, after winning a Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure that can keep anybody's attention. Or you can, somebody that likes winning, be like, you pay me whatever you want to pay me, right? That's the way I'm just assuming it is. Okay. Something else. The Falcons have agreed to terms with wide receiver and returner Cordell Patterson on a 1-year, $3 million deal. Now, if you're not familiar with Cordell Patterson, you should be. And not because he's wide receiver. The reason that this is probably the only person you really see or heard where somebody speaks of them as wide receiver / returner, even though there are plenty of returners in the league that are receivers, Patterson is known better for his returning than he is for his receiving. And that's because he is gifted in the game of returning, all right? Cordell Patterson, drafted back in 2013, first round, 29th pick to Minnesota, out of Tennessee. Okay? Played 4 years with Minnesota. All the games, handling his business in the reception end, what he had, 4, 5, 7 touchdowns with them during that time. Went over to Oakland for 1 year. Not much there as far as receiving. New England. After that, got 3 touchdowns there. And then Chicago these last 2 years, only about 32 receptions over the 2 years, no touchdowns. So it's like, this guy doesn't seem very, feasible. That's all receiving. Literally, from 2013 through 2020, he has played in 127 games with 216 receptions and only 2,000 yards. Seems very low for a receiver, 10 touchdowns. And that's because he is they keep him warmed up for his returning game, okay? That's where he comes in. Now listen to the numbers, all right? So kickoffs, on attempts on kickoff, he has 239 for over 7,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. That's crazy numbers for kick. Like, I don't know too many people that have 1,000-yard seasons on kick returns. He has 3 of them, including one last year with the Chicago Bears. Okay, awesome, right? I think so. I love seeing him go to work, but now he's an Atlanta Falcon. I think it's definitely a great secret weapon that they came up with here. Definitely a come up because the Falcons have had their issues. They've been having their struggles. I don't know what's going on over there, but it looks like they're in the range of making a turnaround, okay? Aldon Smith agrees to a 1-year contract with Seattle Seahawks after being released from or not coming to terms with staying with the Cowboys. I think it's because the Cowboys, are making their own moves. They're definitely hyping up their secondary. They feel like, I guess, their front 7 is solid enough to where they can let them go. Okay, so Aldon Smith is now a Seahawk. And I feel like for some reason, the Seahawks keep getting defensive players that are very well known from here or there. Some from the Cowboys, got some from the Jets. They're just moving around the right way. Okay, now this one I want to talk about because I know a lot of people aren't going to know about this. I didn't know too much about this system, but it's very interesting. Okay, so Washington football team signs tight end Samis Reyes. Okay, look, you're looking like, who's Samis Reyes? I understand you don't know probably, and that's why I'm here to tell you who he is and where he came from. So Samis Reyes, he came in trying to exit high school with his dreams to actually go to the NBA. So he now hopes to be the latest former D1 basketball player. He was the D1 basketball player to make it as an NFL tight end with the Washington football team. He would also become the first Chilean-born player on the rosters. Okay, so Washington signed Reyes, who had been training at the IMG Academy in Florida, which a lot of people know that that school is literally made for athletes. It teaches them, in high school, but it's really to get them prepared for the next level of football, basketball, baseball, whatever they play. Okay, very tough school to be a part of, keep the elite. But like I said, he was part of that as part of their international pathway program. Okay, so this is the part I said it's interesting. I didn't know much about this. The participants in that program get assigned to random divisions, and those teams can then pick one player from the pool of 11 athletes. So the program has about 11 athletes, foreign individuals that come to America and, work to be an athlete in said, sport. And I thought that was really cool. So, Samis Reyes, who is like 6'6", 240, is somebody who came in and was prepared to be D1 in basketball and, ended up realizing that he enjoyed and is better at football. He mentioned in a press conference that they just didn't play football in Chile. So that's why it was, never really a part of his life. But that is awesome. I'm actually excited to see him play. I hope it actually, takes off out there in Washington. All right. Now the Texans. Texans are signing guard Lane Taylor. Okay. This brings Houston's number of free agents added to 30. Okay. They've re-signed 9 guys and traded for 4. So those are big, 30 people. 30? That's a lot. I feel like it's a lot. I mean, maybe it's a lot going on under the table in the background of teams usually, and it's this much that we don't see, but they're loaded up on certain positions like running back. I don't know if they're just doing a whole bunch so they can funnel it out when it's time or what, but just give you a picture of it to update you because I usually tell you week by week who got signed and stuff like that. But talking about the Texans being 30, let's run through those free agents they got real quick. Okay, quarterback Tyrod Taylor, running back Phillip Lindsay, running back Mark Ingram, receiver Andre Roberts, receiver Chris Conley, receiver Chris Moore, receiver Alec Eckerson, receiver Dante Moncrief, tight end Anthony Eclair, tackle Justin Britt, tackle Cole Toner, guard Lane Taylor, as I just said, guard Justin McCray, defensive tackle Malik Collins, defensive tackle Vincent Taylor, defensive tackle Jalen Johnson, DN Derek Rivers, linebacker Kevin Pierre Lewis, linebacker George Jenkins, linebacker Joe Thomas, linebacker Christian Kirksey, linebacker Trey Davis, linebacker Hardy Nickerson. Like I said, these guys are loading up some positions. Linebacker Camus Greer-Hill, cornerback Travis Mitchell, cornerback Tavir Thomas, cornerback Tremon Smith, cornerback Desmond King, safety Terrence Brooks, punter Cameron Johnson. Okay, so that was all of the free agents that they got. The re-signs are running back David Johnson, running back Dontrell Hilliard, running back Buddy Howell. So that alone, that's 5 running backs. Okay, it was like 20 linebackers. Tight ends are kind of high too. They also re-signed tight end Farrell Brown, center John Weeks, tackle Roberts Johnson, cornerback Vernon Hargreaves, cornerback Carnell Armstrong, safety AJ Moore. And then the people they acquired through trade are just quarterback Ryan Finley, tight end Ryan Izzo, tackle Marcus Cannon, and D-end Shaq Lawson. Loading up a lot of people, getting a lot of people over there, getting a lot of people in and out. Yeah, so, Texans are always in the news every week, but not because of that, but because of Deshaun Watson. I know the GM was asked about him lately when they were just having the pre-draft talks, and he basically said something along the lines of, if you're speculating, that he's not. If you're just speculating, then he said you should go invest in Bitcoin, basically saying that don't jump the gun on what you think is going on. He said they still stand behind Watson. Update on his situation as of now. I believe originally the number of accusers got up to 23. Okay, in that process, it did come out from Watson and his lawyer that he did have some consensual engagements with some of the massage therapists. Not necessarily in this case because they didn't know who they were, but he's saying that has happened before where it was consensual. So due to that, him and his team got together to make a plea to the court that, with these individual women being anonymous and him having consensual engagements with some in his past, he cannot properly defend himself against, such accusations and clear his name if you don't know who they are, because there are some that could, I guess, technically be telling a story if it's consensual. So, he said they basically have to reveal themselves so they could be like, okay, no, that was consensual. We have proof of that, yada, yada, right? 2 judges did rule in favor of this and saying that most of the women must identify themselves and gave them a little time limit. So far, I've specifically heard of only 2 coming out, specific name and telling their stories and had a little press conference. Just stuff like that. I know him and his lawyer. I'm saying him and his lawyer, but I mean, this is just stuff that we read out there. I don't really know how much all is said from him or from the lawyer's team, but he basically said that they had evidence against one for sure that they knew about. One specifically has dropped their charges against him. And also, being that they judges ruled that they need to release who they are so that they can properly fight against them. That prosecution team that's coming against Watson in this civil suit is trying to, condense it into just one argument, one case, instead of 23 plus, right? But that's what's going on over there. Like I said, Texans say they still stand behind him. They're trying to clear his name. We're hearing about this little by little every week. More to come next time, right? Other news, the man who falsely accused Rams star Aaron Donald of beating him up on the south side of Pittsburgh brawl is now apologizing. For those that didn't hear about it, there was a guy that came out, picture, face really bad beaten, eyes swollen shut, saying that he was, suing Aaron Donald because, he did that to him. But then it came out that, a video came out showing that this guy was actually jumped by some other guys. Aaron Donald came in to intervene, try to help the guy. The way the story is told, that he's trying to come help this guy, get him up. The guy was like out of there, possibly intoxicated as well, but he also just got beat up. So it's kind of no telling exactly where his mind was at. And so the first person you see is like, Donald trying to help him, but he's thinking that he's against him. His words weren't making sense. So I guess, the last thing he could really remember once his mind was back later was the air Donald was there, and he knew he was beat up. So he was trying to sue him. But the video clearly shows that that wasn't the case. And so this guy had to come out and apologize. Okay. The NFL Player Association Executive Director Demarius Smith said that the union's position that it is the best interest of the players to not participate in voluntary offseason workouts. It's been coming out here and there, a few different teams that are not having them, COVID protection and stuff like that. They want to be very, very careful, very vigilant for their safety. That's why the NFLPA has its position. The NFL does encourage everyone to get the vaccine so that, they can have safer environments. As a matter of fact, for people that are, the non-players, the personnel that work for the NFL that will be around these facilities are actually kind of required to take it. Apparently, if they don't take it, they'll be kind of reduced on to accessibility at facilities and engagements at events. So that's pretty much saying, like, get it or you might not have a job, right? But, for the protocol and everything that their policy is going to say for the offseason, they did drop the summary of the offseason programs. It'll be a 9-week system for the offseason programs. Voluntary exception for one mandatory mini camp. The first phase, which starts this week, April 19th to May 14th. So 4 weeks. They have virtual meetings, 2 hours per day at club direction. No on-field drills or work with coaches. Facilities and weight room capacity limits must remain in place. Okay, and they clubs must make every effort to have the vaccine available for players, staff, families during the first phase of the program. Okay. Also, I think they actually would be getting them at the facilities. Second phase, 1 week, May 17th to May 21st. Virtual meetings still. On-field drills with coaches per CBA rules. No contact, though. All right. Third phase is 4 weeks, May 24th to June 18th. Traditional OTAs, going to be 10 days. Full speed, still no contact. They can now have in-person or virtual meetings, their choice. And it includes that one mandatory mini cap. Okay, so that's kind of how it's going to be set up. Still COVID protocols as that's been negotiated between the NFLPA. All right, and like I said, you hear about players and mostly some teams coming together just to say that we're not having this or that. In order to keep everybody safe going into the season, I still want to commend the NFL for even really getting through this past season. Everybody was worried about it. The NBA was able to create a bubble. We knew the NFL couldn't do a bubble, but they survived. They got it done last season, keeping everybody safe for the most part. So kudos to them. But that's your new news, man. Everything that really has been going on, everything's been talked about. Next up, we are going to have our second segment where I am going to go ahead and wrap up the NFC bottom to the top. All right. So we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. All right.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the quick break. So that was new news in the first segment. Always starting off there. Interesting information, keeping the attention of the people as we, have this off season. Got to have stuff coming out every week, of course. And now we're on to our last two divisions in the series of bottom to the top, where, I'm going over some of these teams that are at the bottom of their divisions, struggling either now or for years now for some of their cases. But what they need to do in order to compete and get in that first spot in the division in order to compete in the playoffs. So like I said, down to the last two, the NFC South and the NFC West. Now, originally, I got to admit, when I was first trying to plan this out, I was, trying to decide which divisions would be more interesting to save for last. What did I want to talk about? How competitive the AFC South was supposed to be, how tough the AFC North already is, or how the AFC East has had a new power change. And really what it all came down to is it really didn't matter because all of them had something pretty interesting going on one way or another. And me being unbiased, not having my own team, that didn't help the case because now I'm like, I have somebody that I really vibe with in each division, right? But we're going to talk about the NFC South and the West and why these two are probably the most, hard of them all, which is why they're last, okay? So starting with the South, giving you the picture how it played out this past season. Quite an interesting season because the Super Bowl champs are in this division, of course. So coming in first place, New Orleans Saints. They went 12-4. Drew Brees' last season. They beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who won the Super Bowl twice in the regular season. So that says a lot. But lost to them in the playoffs in order to go to the Super Bowl, right? Number two is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 11-5 was their record. They had Tom Brady. He had 2 bad games. Other than that, all solid play from offense and defense, which is why they, are having a trophy party on a boat and got rings on the way. All right. Third place was the Carolina Panthers. This is where the division takes a big dip from the teams that had double-digit wins to low single-digit wins here with Carolina Panthers going 5-11. Not much to say there. They struggled quarterback-wise. Their star running back got injured. Lots going on over there. And then in very last place is the Atlanta Falcons, who went 4-12, tying them for the third worst record in the league this season, but blessing them with the fourth pick in the draft. Talk about that a little bit later. But, man, the reason, like I said, that these guys saved for the end is because they're the hardest ones to do because there's really just not much to say or an obvious reason on why this team went 4-12. They had injuries here or there, but other than that, I mean, it was a struggle for them to basically win these games. In the last episode, I really emphasized how getting points on the board wins you the games. They put points on the board, surprisingly enough. The Falcons weren't in the bottom of really anything offense-wise, and I guess you can, give kudos to that to Matt Ryan, because a lot of people maybe want to use him as a scapegoat, been in the league for forever, maybe they're trying to call him old. There's talks now about is he, going to be the starting quarterback next year and things of that nature, but he still had a Matt Ryan season, to be honest. He, got sacked a little bit more than usual, but that didn't stop him from having a 93.3 quarterback passer rating. He played all 16 games, completed over 400 passes, had over 4,500 yards, 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. But that's not, his worst day for sure. And, I mean, clearly we've seen even worse in the people that played and started in teams such as Carson Wentz with 15. So Matt Ryan, fair. To be honest, I think he's good to go next year. I don't see any reason for them to use that number 4 spot to get anybody new. Julio was out. Okay, star receiver, who is somebody that they would, most defenses would focus on regardless. So how much of a difference could he have made? Julio, he played almost 9 games. He was really just injured for those 2 before they really kept him off the field. only getting 3 touchdowns, 700 yards. It's not really who Julio is known to be on the field. We get that. But again, like I said, how much more could he have added to change this outcome? I don't believe that it would be much of anything. I mean, you had Calvin Ridley help lead the way, maybe because Julio was out there, he was the number one, but that shows you a lot because he had over 1,000 yards. Calvin Ridley had a ball this season, actually. He had, over 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, 90 receptions. That's pretty good. I think the running back position was a little disappointing. They went to go acquire Todd Gurley, who had, was doing his thing in L.A., at least getting in the end zone for the most part. But this year, they just couldn't figure out how to win these games. And I think that was one of the biggest jokes, was that, even when they're in a position to win, they still found a way to lose. A lot of their games were pretty close. They played the Chiefs. So at this point, the returning Super Bowl champions, they lost 17-14. Close game. Buccaneers right after that, 31-27. Real close. Right after that, Chargers 20-17. Oh, 20-17. 2017 sound like the year, but you got it. And so forth, so on. The worst game that had the biggest gap in it was a game they actually won versus the Raiders, which was 43-6. Okay, but literally everything else is crazy close. Lions 23-22. Okay, 23-16 versus the Panthers. It was neck and neck. They were in there. It was just a little bit of things that I guess they just weren't crisp on. Now, don't get me wrong. I definitely had, did the research in order to make sure that this wasn't just a complete question mark. There had to be more to it. Like I said, there were injuries in the secondary for sure. Had their injuries, okay? Their secondary on their safeties and cornerbacks on defense were pretty banged up. And I don't want to say the whole season, but enough to where a lot of the second string, third string had to come in. The Atlanta Falcons were actually dead last on defense, defensive passing, yards. So they literally have dead last, allowing over 4,700 yards being passed on them. The next closest is 4,560. So you see about 140 more yards. It's a whole nother game for somebody, right? That could be it, the secondary. But they did go make some pickups, trying to, I would assume, help themselves in this situation. Definitely had to make sure that they had people that could fill in or take over for individuals like Kendall Sheffield. Shout out to Chef. I actually went to school with Chef. But yeah, Kendall Sheffield, I know he had foot injuries. Fast kid, and no one was able to pick up the pace for that, especially him. No one could run as fast as that guy. Jalen Hawkins got injured. And it's about 2 more other guys. And with that, if you can't handle those passes down the field, because that's why these games are so close, is they couldn't stop at the end of the game where it's head-to-head, 2-minute drills on both sides, both teams trying to, get that inch so that they can win the game. They couldn't defend these teams getting down the field quickly on these deep passings. So is that something they should possibly look into? First round, can we see the 4th overall pick actually being a DB? It'd be a surprise, knowing that the position they have in order to get a really talented offensive player. No one knows for sure if they're drafting a quarterback. They're like the one question mark in the top 4 teams, and we all are pretty confident that those first 3 are definitely going quarterback. But when it gets to the Atlanta Falcons, they haven't said enough, or made people believe at least enough, that they are going for a quarterback. It hasn't been said. I personally, as I've already mentioned, don't think it's really all that needed. I think Matt Ryan still got it for at least another year or 2 max. So Atlanta Falcons, you're mostly a question mark. I don't want to sit here and blame everything on your secondary. I don't think that's possible. I really doubt that you're, the 3rd worst team in the league just because your DBs can't hold. Well, I could be wrong. Now I'm picturing in my head bombs over Baghdad, right? who knows? But they'll be in a fight either way in that division. As most, you got Tom Brady staying another year. I don't think they're going to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs have been, doing their thing this year already, and they came in second and then won the Super Bowl. The Saints, they have a unique situation themselves. And Carolina Panthers are definitely about to upgrade their system. I could see that one coming on the horizon. But that's what I'm thinking about for the South. Atlanta, at most, gets second place next year, and that's just if the Carolina Panthers make the wrong pick in the draft this year. Other than that, give them another 2-3 years before we see them at the top again. That's for sure. Now, on to the last division. We're going to talk about the NFC West. NFC West is, I'd say, a pretty neutral, regardless of what the records look like. These teams are very competitive and go back-to-back all the time in this division as far as who's better one year to the other, who makes it to the Super Bowl one year to the other. Like, literally, we just watched, Seahawks, LA Rams, and the 49ers all go in, the last 5 years? So, very competitive division itself, let alone, probably a division most of the conference is afraid of. Seahawks had a good season. They came in first, went 12-4, and actually started off really hot. I think went 8-9 games undefeated. I think they were one of the last 2 or 3 teams to go that far. We know that situation. Got Russ. You can't. Usually it's the debate of who got the best quarterback. But as I mentioned in the last episode, Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl with the LA Rams, and I do not think he was the best quarterback in that division. But Arizona Cardinals, LA Rams came in second, 10-6. Cardinals came in at third, 8-8, and San Francisco 49ers came in last at 6-10, which is one of the better records for the last division, for the last team in the division, if not the best. Oh, actually, it is. It's the best. That's the best record for the team that came last in their division. So, my point proven even further. The NFC West, quite a competitive division it is. And this one was pretty easy, I guess. Tough, but easy as far as why they are here. Why they are here right after they came off a hot streak and made it to the Super Bowl is because they got beat up. We saw it. We saw how many injuries they had, Jimmy G for starters. He was definitely a legit contender for possibly going for an MVP for the season after coming off being a Super Bowl winner. Well, Super Bowl loser, sorry. I believe I had them definitely to come back, with the early predictions. So right after Super Bowl, after they lost, I had them predicted to come back and favored them to win. Okay, but yeah, they lost, Jimmy, Mostert, the starting running back. I believe Deebo Samuel's beat up for a little while. Of course, the superstar Nick Bosa beating up on the quarterbacks left and right. And the veteran and Richard Sherman he wasn't all the way there, had his ups and downs. So that's almost all their start. Oh, George Kittle. How can I forget George Kittle? George Kittle is the number 1 tight end in the league to me. But he had his injuries, foot or ankle, and he didn't get to play much. So this was just an unfortunate series of events for San Francisco. They just had to basically play with their B team for the whole season. Or at least after the second week, because that's when some of these big injuries happened. Now, what does this say for next year? Okay, so everybody get healthy, come back, things are going to be better. Not quite. Now, there's the Jimmy G question mark. Everybody's pretty confident that they're moving away from him. You got Nate Studfield recently. Always had Josh Rosen in the background. I don't know why they didn't move him up. I guess much isn't happening there, though. But outside of that, the team was okay. I can't fault them for like I said, yards against them or not getting in the end zone. Like I said, when you're looking at stuff like that, you got to go majority based on them having their starters in the key position. Key starter and running back, starting quarterback, start defensive ends, stuff like that. But hey, we saw what they did, making big moves to trade up to the number 3 spot, which made everybody believe that they are getting a quarterback, a top 3 quarterback that's coming in this draft, which if you ask any random guy on the street, it's probably about at least 5 decent quarterbacks to pick from. But outside of that, just this offseason, they made some interesting pickups. One big one was Trent Williams, offensive tackle. We talked about that because he gets paid the most out of any offensive lineman now. They gave him a big deal, really ranking him up there as a top veteran. So that was good. They got defensive end Samson Ibukum coming out of East Washington, drafted in the 4th round. So that's impressive coming out of East Washington. I always praise when guys come out of schools that are D2 or lower. But yeah, he came out of there. He went to the Rams. Now he's in San Francisco. They was able to pick him up, just this past offseason. Been in the league for 3 years. He has what it takes to, be that dual nickel linebacker, get to the quarterback or fall back and play zone very well kind of guy. I believe they have pretty good faith in him. He hasn't had bad injury history, which helps in their confidence, right? Outside of that, they got some cornerbacks they had to pick up, fullbacks, Kawan Williams, DJ Jones on defensive tackle, really meeting up that defensive line. Also got defensive tackle Zach Kerr, Trent Sherfield, receiver. They also got Tavion Wilson, who's a safety that is known for, getting the ball out of the air, keeping it on the ground, if anything, out of receiver's hands for sure. One of the big pickups they got from Atlanta was Mohamed Sanu. Make sure they get more hands out there to catch the ball. And like I mentioned already, Nate Sudfeld was kind of the surprise just because it was like, well, this is after they moved up in the draft. So did they really just pick up this guy to be a backup, or is there something else in the plan? Hard to say. I wouldn't stress on the quarterback situation just because, like I said, we know regardless of what they decide, they're going to have a decent quarterback at the position. But on the point side of offense, of them getting in the end zone, low, bottom 10, again, not their fault when they didn't have the superstar Mostert in there. I'm pretty sure that hurt. But then you look at the passing yards. So cornerbacks, even though I've just mentioned they picked up 3 cornerbacks in offseason and 2 or 3 defensive linemen, but they were in the top 5 for yards on defense. They were really defensive. They had less than 4,000, really 3,300 yards being passed on them. Even better than that, only 1,703 yards rushing. That's a fight, but I guess that's why they had a better record than most, being in last place. It definitely shows. So at the end of the day, San Francisco, number 1, get healthy. Make sure that your stars are out there. Make the right decision when it comes to all the moves and pickups you may be picking up in this draft outside of the well-known quarterback pickup at 3. Really is going to come down to luck, too, on if that number 3 is going to hit as well as most of us believe. Regardless if it's Wilson, we know it's not going to be Lawrence, but they got some picks. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's Jones out of Alabama. They make that decision. That person's not a bust. They come in. They do their job. Like I said, everybody else comes back healthy. Not even really no more trading or any surprise superstar pickups. But just with that, they're competing with this tough division. Still got to compete against Kyler, new guy Matthew Stafford, but the Rams' defense has not been a joke for quite some time now. Russ, Seattle, we all know he's going to still be there, even though all the other talks of, the confusion if he's going somewhere else. But we're here. San Francisco, I give you 2 or 3. I can't give you 1 only because it's not enough. But do you have a chance of not being a last? That's for sure. All right? So that's what all of the divisions now, all of the teams have been discussed. We see how people at the bottom got there, and we know now how they're going to get to the top. All right? Now we're going to take a quick little break, and I'm going to be right back onto the next segment. All right?
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Welcome back. Hey, man, the drums on that intro right there, or that comeback, I enjoy that. I'm sure y'all do too. But yeah, we're back. This is GSMC Football Podcast with your host, DJ Youngs. We are halfway through the show now. Gave you the new news in the beginning. Then we finished off our little recap of how the NFL is looking this past season, what those bottom teams in each division were looking like. So we finished off in the NFC there. That was a fun one. Can't wait to really explore what all happens with each one of those teams moving forward once the draft happened. Then after that, just going into the season, man. Big things happening. But we are now in our top 10 segment where I give you the top 10 people in this position. The position we will be speaking about today is the linemen. Don't sleep on the O-line, okay? The O-line is where all the magic happens. There's no success without an O-line, which made this research a little frustrating because most sites that even, keep the stats and rank these kind of guys don't really well, it's kind of hard. They don't really have rankings for linemen like that. It's more of just like, offense perspective. But it is more of a do your own research situation because the linemen, like, they're different positions. You got a guard, you got a tackle, you got a center, but they're looked at as one, right? Whereas, other stuff, a receiver, you're a receiver. Yeah, he might be in a slot, but you're still a receiver. You still catch the ball, stuff like that. You can still say how good you are there. Quarterback's quarterback, so forth and so on. Even D lineman. D lineman was, a little bit of an easier one because you just kind of go with this,
stats. You can say who were leading in sacks and pressures, if you can find out that information and go from there. But when it comes to offensive line, they block on every single play, no matter if you are the tackle, no matter if you are the guard or the center. Okay, there's no statistic that I could find that was even any accuracy on snaps for centers or anything like that. But it's all about how many snaps they take, because you got to remember, these guys are fighting every play. I always give kudos to them because I even had somebody recently try to tell me like, oh, linemen don't use their legs that much versus DBs or somebody that plays football. And I'm like, what? O-linemen use all of them every single play. They don't get plays off like, me being who used to be a receiver. If, it's a run play and it's not even coming your way, you could just kind of like jog to the side and don't even really got to block if you didn't want to. I'm talking high school, of course, guys. I'm pretty sure it's different when you get to higher levels. But, I mean, you can do that. Even on defense, if you're playing really any position outside of the defensive line, you'll have some plays off if need be. If there's not a pass play or if it gets stopped real quick, in the backfield, then if you're a safety, you didn't even move. You didn't even come up. You was looking to see what happened, and play was over before you could figure it out. But O-linemen, every single play, when that ball is snapped, they are looking up, putting those hands up, kicking those legs back, keeping those invaders out. So, I would love to do a top 20, really a top 40, but we're going to limit them to 10. All right. And I did combine centers, tackles, and guards and put them together. So this one, I say this probably every time we do this. You could definitely have a different perspective. You could definitely have a different idea of what you would qualify in order to put these guys in order. But hey, this is what I got for you. All right. So I'm pretty sure some of your guys are on here. If you listen to my first episode, and I literally, told you my super team, most of the guys that were on my offensive line are on this list, and I mean that's why they're good at what they do. All right. So after doing research and seeing what a lot of other sites had them, as far as statistic wise, maybe ranks, to certain sites that even keep those type of things, came together and was able to see, what all aligned between different sites on where they had people. All right. So let's get it started. Number 10. Number 10 is center number 62 out of Philadelphia, Jason Kelce. Yeah. Jason Kelce still doing his thing. I mentioned it before because he was someone that was on my team. Jason is, a center who is still effective after so long. He got drafted back in 2011, in the 6th round at that. So, they didn't look at him too hard coming out of Cincinnati. But 6'3", 295, solid build guy who is efficient. Like I said, he's been playing this long, and just this past season, he took 1,126 snaps. Like, what? I think that's like what's somewhere tied in second in the league or number 2 in the league for most snaps. So he's handling his business with that, right? Now, when you take that many snaps, which is a ton, you're bound to have a couple penalties. So he got about 10 penalties on board, with that. So, but that, again, that comes with the territory. I don't think 10's terrible. I mean, matter of fact, I wonder how many of those were false starts. This could have been anything. Shoot, half of them could have been Carson Wentz's fault. Look, we know what he was up to, causing all kind of issues up there before they got rid of him. But don't get me wrong. He allowed four sacks. 4 sacks is, I guess, somewhere where I would put if I had a lineman, especially at his tenure, just right on the edge. Like, if 4 isn't going to bother me. Depends on when they were timed, of course. Like, don't put they had a game on the line and you allowed it, but getting it done, solid, reliable. Like I said, now you got some new bodies in there, a new quarterback that's really handling his business. We'll interested to see what they do over there. All right, number 9. Number 9 is no one other than another center, 00, out of Green Bay, Corey Linsley. Yes, Corey Linsley, 6'3", 300 pounds, drafted in 2014 in the 5th round from Ohio State. All right. Definitely did his thing. Plenty of snaps. Let me see. So this past season, he got 734 snaps, no penalties, and only 1 sack allowed. All right. And shoot, when I see 1, I just assume that it's like Aaron Donald. You know, so if it's Aaron Donald, then I mean, hey, you only allow 1. Good job, Corey. Great job. But yeah, no. Outside of that, though, we do know that Green Bay had an awesome running season. Aaron Jones was 4th in rushing this season, over 1,100 yards. That's pretty good. Got in the end zone just enough times too. But yeah, when you're running back, you're starting running backs in the top 5 running backs in the league. That speaks for your O-line too. This is why we see that running backs have the relationship they have with their O-linemen. We see them gift them stuff all the time, you know. But yeah, Corey had made his mark, handled his business, and of course the quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. So, oh my goodness, my bad. I've been saying he's on Green Bay this whole time. Wait, did he go to the Chargers? Is Corey Linsley on the Chargers now? Definitely is on the Chargers. I think that happened this offseason. Yeah. But yeah, when you're snapping Aaron Rodgers, hey, solid individual, solid young man. Good. All right. Number 8 is someone that was actually in the news, you know, just a couple of weeks ago, and all the free agency stuff was going on because he was forever dedicated to Foxborough, but now he's a Chief. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the guard, also number 00, Joe Thuney. All right, he came up. What college he went to? You wonder? North Carolina State. Yeah, you ain't know nothing about that, huh? Drafted in the 3rd round. And that was in 2016. But yeah, hey, like I said before, because I kind of talked on him while we are doing some of this free agency stuff, definitely reliable. And clearly he handled himself well and knew the Patriots way, was able to get these championships in with them, and was successful. All right, 980 snaps this past season, 3 penalties, 2 sacks. Oh, DJ, that doesn't sound like the best lineup. You know, how does he get here? Well, he gets here because he does the fundamentals well. All right, you watch his film, you'll see his drive, you'll see his leverage, the things he lost on that allowed for the 3 penalties, the 2 sacks. I guarantee you were not like any type of misguided neglection on his part. Okay, not saying it's anyone else's fault or either. It's just, you know, things happen. You know, he either, you know, had a miss or the defensive player was just that good. All right, but he deserves to be on the top 10 linemen in the league currently. That's why he's here, ladies and gentlemen. All right, now who is above them? Number 7. Number 7 could be a controversial one on where he is, because I definitely can easily see someone having him higher, like top 5, and honestly, I wouldn't question it. I just think this was all tough when it comes to mixing guards with tackles and centers, as you see, right? All right, but yes, number 7, the guard for the Colts, Quentin Nelson. Now, before I even give props on Quentin Nelson, let's just talk about him being on this line that had Jonathan Taylor, who some people probably don't even respect like that as a top running back. But Jonathan Taylor, who only played 15 games, had over 1,100 yards, 3rd highest rushing in the league, and he had 11 touchdowns. Okay, double-digit touchdowns, over 1,100 yards. Good job, Jonathan Taylor. But he would have none of it. Not a sliver of it without his O-line, especially Quentin Nelson. All right. Quentin Nelson came out of Notre Dame in 2018, drafted in the first round, 6th pick. Why? Because he was the baddest man out there. 6'5", 330. Oh, man. And he's a guard, y'all. Like, usually when you're reaching those, 6'5" heights and stuff, those are the tackles. But Quentin is a guard. Okay? He too had over 1,000 snaps, as I was mentioning earlier, like about Kelsey. But yeah, he had 1,082 snaps this past season. He did have a high number of penalties, being 9, but only 1 sack. Only uno sack. All right. He's up there. When it comes to run blocking, boom. When it came to pass blocking, because Phillip Rivers had a decent season before retiring, and now, he gets to block for no one but that might throw interceptions, but I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying that, it might be a different outcome next season, but I don't hope that for Quentin Nelson. I hope Quentin Nelson has an opportunity to have a successful season. AFC South is already going to be very interesting. They have some new people coming in there all over. Literally every team might have a new quarterback. Now, don't quote me on that, but just the way life is going right now, that might be the case. But Colts have always been solid. You got to admit that, ever since Peyton days, even when when they had the bad season before getting luck, they've been solid. It's good system, good back office. Quentin Nelson, that was one of their best picks of the past, 4 or 5 years. But yeah, my number 7. Numero 6. Number 6. Number 6 is someone I believe gets overlooked. I don't hear his name enough. But number 72, Denver Broncos, Garrett Bowles. Garrett Bowles is a tackle, 6'5", 297, out of Utah back in 2017. First round pick. Okay. Pro Football Focus gives him an offensive grade of 90.6. The way I look at Pro Football Focus is when I look at like a harder grading Madden. They handle all the statistics over there. So if he was on the game of Madden, he's probably going to be a 98. Somewhere in that range. All right. Now, why is he so high? Well, if you must know, after having over 1,000 snaps this past season, 1,015 to be exact, he allowed 0 sacks. That is, ladies and gentlemen, that is a lot. I just mentioned to you how much these guys are getting active. They're getting active every snap. So for 1,015 snaps, he didn't allow a single individual to get to his quarterback. None of them, because, the Denver and their quarterback issues. But solid guy. I hope nothing but the best. Like I'm saying, for most of these guys, I want to see them do successful things with him. All right, number 5. We're in the top 5, ladies and gentlemen. Who are the top 5? Top 5. Zach Martin is number 5. All right, Zach Martin. I mentioned before he was on my line that I picked for my fantasy team at 6'4", 315 pounds, out of Notre Dame back in 2014. Selected in the first round to the Cowboys. Pro Football Focus got him at 91.3. You want to know why? Well, it's because he's a solid dude. He handles his business. His stats don't look as good as the last guy, but 618 snaps for this past season. Of course, he had his issues, so that's why I couldn't be up there. 1 penalty, 1 sack allowed. Like I said, injuries did play a part, but we know what he's capable of. We've seen what he has done in this league since 2014. Someone that's getting up there as far as veteran status, but somebody that, if you're smart, you wouldn't trade for nothing. All right. Number 4, and it's getting good. I'm not going to lie. No, number 4 is getting interesting. Somebody else that might not get as much recognition, but Wyatt Taylor. All right. The guard out of Cleveland. Pro Football Focus rates him a 92.3, which means he's closer to a 99 on Madden. All right, he went to Virginia Tech, got drafted in 2018 in the 5th round, which means that they weren't really looking for him, but you should have been. Okay, people, you should have been. This young man is aggressive with his hands. All right, he always knows what to do, and I think he plays both guards. I think he can play right and left guard. I think they have to move him at some point in the season to help out. 694 snaps, 5 penalties, 3 sacks. DJ, that doesn't sound that great. I know, but he's fast. All right. I don't know what he was clocked at, but he's fast. Oh, did I mention that he was drafted to Buffalo? Yeah, he was drafted to Buffalo in 2018, and then he ended up on the Browns. Okay? But that's not the point. The point is, this is a guard that gets these holes open. Why do I know this? Because for whatever reason, Nick Chubb was running amok this year. All right? Nick Chubb has just been, I don't know, he's been all right these last couple seasons, but this one takes the cake. 12 touchdowns? Come on, man. I think there's only one other running back that has more than 12 touchdowns. Nick Chubb couldn't stay out of the end zone. And don't get me started with Kareem Hunt. You know, these guys were just rotating and creating havoc. And I don't know, if you, speaking of Madden, if you play the Browns on Madden on anything close to a hard, like the hardest or the one right before the hard, you're going to be a miserable individual trying to stop Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And that's because his O-line just creates havoc. And then, for whatever reason, those guys are impossible to tackle. And they break every tackle. All right, that's a side note, but that's how I feel. As you can tell, I had a bad experience. All right. Number 3, we're in the top 3, y'all. Top 3. It's getting sticky. It's getting sticky. All right. Number 3, Ronnie Stanley, the tackle out of Baltimore. We spoke about him before. All right. Yes, he's had his injury, so we haven't seen as much from him. Only 300 snaps this past season. No, you didn't allow any sacks, though. But we've seen what he's done in the past. I gave you guys the whole ordeal now. Is he a hard person to get past? Of course. He's 6'6", 315. Who's getting past that? I'd be the person to have to run through his legs to get to the quarterback. You know, I'm a lot smaller than that guy. So, first round 6 pick in 2016. You know why. Out of Notre Dame. God, dog. Notre Dame be just a lineman machine. They just make it happen. But, yeah, he got injured this past season, so hoping for a good recovery and him coming back real strong. So that's why I don't have too much to say on him other than that. Okay, top two. Who's one? Who's two? Who's one? Well, you can argue with whoever you want about these two and which order they come in, but my number 2, just adding suspense. Number 69, the tackle out of Green Bay for sure, David Bakahari. Now, a lot of people had him as number 1, all right? I have to admit that. Pro Football Focus only graded him a 91.8, though. Okay, so that's not even their 99. I still think on Madden that makes him a 97, 98, right? Pro Football Focus is a lot tougher than those Madden ratings. But somebody who got drafted in the 4th round, so maybe people kind of were looking for him. In 2013, he has that perfect veteran status where he is. I keep saying they're like he's right at his peak. Not saying I don't think he's going to fall off this next year, but I'm just saying that it doesn't get any better than the time that they're in right now, okay? This past season, 758 snaps, 4 penalties, 1 sack. Okay, cool, but hey, who's the guy that's moving around? Who's the guy that they're pulling and pushing, getting out there to block for? No one other than Aaron Jones. Okay, had a great season, which is really disappointing that, you know, I mean, I haven't said number 1 yet, but I'll just go ahead and say the fact that, you know, Tennessee and Minnesota, like, I don't know, there was no linemen that really were just killing the game for it. It could have been somebody else's fault, though. It could have been coach's fault, of course. You know, maybe, I don't know, they're not teaching these guys right, but, you know, to have the top 2 guys, to have Derrick Henry have a 2K season. He had a 2K season, man. Where the linemen at, man? You know it's up to them. I know it's because of them. but clearly, it wasn't enough pizzazz for everyone else. And number 1, Trent Williams. Yep, I said this before. I kind of already told you guys there was no one that probably more, unstoppable than Trent Williams at the time. And I'm only saying that really just because, well, I'm not only saying it, but part of it is proven by the amount of money he just received in San Francisco. All right, how do you get a big check? Well, you get a big check by being 6'5", 320 pounds. Fast, strong, veteran status because he got drafted back in 2010. Still got it a decade later. He was drafted first round, 4th overall pick. Well, 4th, I guess. Can I still say overall? I guess. 4th overall pick. This past season, 957 snaps, 10 penalties, 4 sacks. I know. But you gotta watch. This is literally one of those ones where it's like, you know how it'd be like, oh, it looked good on paper, Cowboys. It looked good on paper, but that's not it. This is the opposite. It's like it looks shaky on paper, not bad, just not because I said number 1, so that's the only reason you're probably questioning this. But if you watch him, you'll know why. Pro Football Focus rates him a 91.9. Let's just assume that's a 99. All right. But yeah, that's the top 10 linemen in the league according to my analytics, all right? Like I said, go argue whoever you want and make your own list, but that's where we stand. That's all I got for this segment. We're going to take a quick break and then get into the final segment, all right? We'll be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Okay, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that quick commercial break. As always, you are tuned into the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, DJ Youngs, and this is our last segment. We've talked about a few different things from whatever's been going on new in the news. NFC's bottom to the top. My last segment, I talked about top 10 linemen. I hope you enjoyed that. And now, where I discussed some hot topics. So something that was talked about a lot this week. Caesar William Hill, aka Vegas, released its initial projection for win totals for each team for the coming season. So, of course, everybody's talking about what they think. ESPN had literally every one of their national writers for each team kind of give their input on what they take as the over/under. If their team is gonna go over or under that number that Caesar William Hill put out. Okay, so I'm gonna go over them. I'm gonna give you my prediction. I'll tell you what these professional writers say as well, because yes, I have my own idea. I'm pretty sure everybody that watches football has their own idea, especially on their specific teams, but having those writers input is important too, because that they're specifically focused on a single team all year. Okay, NFL in general, yes, but like their job is to actually know more about a team than most of us actually. So I'm gonna give it to you, by division as usual. You've heard my personal take on teams, future based off, where they are, if they were at the bottom. of each division, how they would make their way to the top if I had hope that they could move or how high they could be. Most of them I definitely didn't see going to number one, but I told you about which ones I could see being number two or which ones that I saw staying at the bottom, not possibly making it anywhere. Okay, so you'll hear more about that here. All right, so starting off in the AFC. The AFC, they have the Buffalo Bills predicted their over-under being 10.5 games. 10.5, my prediction. Being they had such a great season too, they didn't really lose anybody. They just went 13-3. I only seen them really getting better or staying the same, not really getting worse. So my personal take would be over. I think they'll still be the dominant team in their division. Miami, New England, Jets, all in this division. Playing them twice a year, can someone beat them? I believe so. I could believe at max they could take 2 losses in their division. And again, that's a max, so that's saying like if it was to happen, that's as high as it would go. They didn't take any last season. They didn't lose at all in the division. They went 6-0. Now, so that's a good possibility. It could definitely be 6-0 again, or it'll be 4-2. Worst case scenario. All right. But there's 17 games this season. Keep that in mind. This is based off of 16 games. So you add every game, they still keep, a fairly positive, 11-plus record, 11-win record, I can see that. So they're predicted by their ESPN reporter. They also picked the over. So I guess that's a fair pick. Okay, next team, Miami Dolphins, over under 9. For me, I'm seeing them go, I might say even 9. I might keep it right there. If anything, I don't know. They went 10-6. Went 3-3 in the division. I definitely think the Patriots are going to be a lot better. So, if anything, the Dolphins, I would say go. Again, it's 17 games. Oh, that's tough. I want to say even. I'm going to say 9. I'm actually giving them 9. They're predicted to be over slightly. I guess that means 10, 11 games. That's 17 a game, man. I don't know how big of a different. It is just one game, but at the same time, when we're used to 16, we're used to 8-8 being even. You can be over 500 by 500 by going 8-8. Now it's been 17 games. You got to win at least 9. So. Yeah. Dolphins, they haven't made anything big moves. Now, again, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but this is all really early, being that literally the draft is next week. So, after the draft, literally all of these can change depending on who people get, if teams move up and get, somebody that's that big of a game changer. But yeah, so based off of my professional and fan eye of mine, I say Dolphins go even at 9. Next up, New England Patriots. They have their over-under at 9 as well. I actually think they'll go over. It's just really hard to see the Patriots struggle, for too long after everything we've witnessed. They're still under Bill. So, with you still being under Bill Belichick, he's not. He watched every game very closely. The ones they won and the ones they lost. And I'm pretty sure his job this season was to correct all of that. We saw how hard they went in free agency. Got Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Matthew Judon. A plethora of others. Spent plenty of money. Okay? So, with them having an over-under of 9 and them going 7-9 last season being a bad season for them, I'm going to take the over. I dare to say they'll be competing with Buffalo. I don't think they'll beat out Buffalo for that top position of the AFC East, but the New England Patriots definitely going to do better this year, for sure. So they're predicted to go over. All right, so another one that agrees with me. Cool. And then the team that came in last The New York Jets, their over-under is 6. 6 sad games. They only won 2 last season. They blew it for the number 1 pick. They're definitely going to do something about that with the second overall pick in the draft. So that kind of changes things. But, yeah, I still think they're going to struggle in this division. Yeah, they're not going to win more than 6. I'm calling the under. Because the thing is, as much as I like to be optimistic, as much as I like to praise, teams as best as I can, players specifically, but just teams, because I like watching the sport. The Jets are they're going to need a lot to transform. And this isn't the year. Again, will they win more than 2 games? I think so. Yeah, they'll win more than 2 games. But they're not going to win more than 6. I'm calling the under. Is predicted by their reporter that they also picked the under. So I guess that says a lot, right? AFC North, as I've mentioned to you guys before, the AFC North is such a great division to watch. They're so competitive, man. Led by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They came in first this past season. At the bottom was the Bengals, but that was for more reasons than none. So starting off with the Steelers. The Steelers over under is 9. Wow. That is a big hit to say for a team that just went undefeated for so long, went 12-4, looking bad at the end of looking worse at the end of the season than they did at the beginning. But yeah, competitive division here. They went 12-4. Baltimore went 11-5. Cleveland went 11-5. So all the teams except for one, well over 500. Like I said again, 17 games. I don't know. I mean, you got Mike Tomlin, you got Ben. Ben said he's coming back for another year. And Mike Tomlin isn't, he doesn't do losing. Okay, he hasn't had a losing season in his 14 seasons he's played. So to say that they're going to go 9 and just push that 500, I mean, that's just honestly trying to play it safe. And it's really hard to root against Mike Tomlin. So as much as I want to say under, I'm going to say even. I don't really, because of Mike, to be honest. That's my factor. Like, let's say he retired and there was a new coach, I definitely am going to pick under. I don't think they were going to have the same thing going for them that they had. Ben, 39 years old. You got rid of James Conner. I understand he was banged up, but he was a solid running back for him. They got some receiving game going on. But I don't know. Like I said, the teams like the Browns, as you've heard reports today of what they got going on, like, they're only going to get better. The Baltimore still has Lamar. So that, again, I would say even. Let's keep them even at 9, which definitely means that I believe that they are not going to be in first place this next season in their division. Which brings me to the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens over. Oh wait, did I say what the prediction for the Pittsburgh Steelers is under? So that's only picked under. So that means that Mike Tomlin, if they're correct, will have his first season under 500. That'd be a sight to see, eh? Baltimore Ravens. All right, you ready for this? Over under is 11. Okay, 11, which is crazy to say that they make such a noise enough to where they keep the same, record that they basically had this year, winning 11. I think they should be getting better, right? Right? I mean, he they got, like I said, they got Lamar. They made additions. They got, some help out there for him. Picking up some people in the offseason, getting them some weapons. John Harbaugh, he's making it happen. I think they could do 11 for sure. But being that I think that another team is going to take it, as far as the division leader, Baltimore coming in second. They just came in second at 11-5. Can it come in second at 11-6? What do we think? Well, let's put them in the category of under. Sorry, picking under, Ravens. I got hopes for you, but I say you go 10. I think you guys win 10-7. All right, but prove me wrong. That this is one of the teams that I'm gonna not just blow by. I'm gonna actually say prove me wrong. That's what I want to see. Okay, predicted to go even with 11. So that's what they're looking at there. Now going to the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals over under is 6.5. Okay, I mean, I wonder what the basis of that is really, saying that, okay, yeah, Joe Burrow and comes back, and like I said, they got Moss at tight end now, and they did lose AJ Green, but they just went 4-11, so now you're saying, oh, they win 2 more games. I would like to see more, but hey, I mean, to be honest, this is one of those teams that have to kind of prove themselves. We can't just go based off of names, because like they were competing, but it wasn't hard enough. So 6.5, I say even or over. No, I probably should pick over, because I mean that's pushing. It's 6.5, so it's kind of pushing you to 7. So could they go 7-10? I could see 7-10. I'll put them in last, but if I can see them not beating out Pittsburgh, I kept Pittsburgh at 9. Yeah, let's keep them there. Let's go even. Cincinnati Bengals, even at 7. All right. But Joe Burrow is going to prove me wrong, maybe. Probably not. We'll see. Their prediction is to go over, so somebody believes they're going to do a lot better this season. And again, not taking away from them. Guess we will see what happens there. Now, going to my number 1 team for this division, which is going to be the Cleveland Browns. Their over-under is 10, and it's also predicted to be over. I also predicted to be over. There's not much to say there. I mean, look, you got Odell Beckham coming back. They got Baker doing his thing again. I just said they got Jadeveon Clowney. They added safety John Johnson. They not only proved themselves last season, but they also added to it. So, number 1 team in that division this upcoming season. That's my prediction. I predict that they will win more than 10 games. I don't even know why they just put 10. I'm surprised that their over-under isn't at least 12. Okay? But that's what we got for that division. Over to the AFC South, Saturday division. They got Houston Texans up first. Have their over-under at 5. It's predicted to be under. This one is contingent for me. If they keep Deshaun Watson, they go over. If that changes, they go under. That's all I'm saying. Despite what's going on off the field right now, Deshaun Watson is a Texan. He plays game 1. That's a bad man there. Okay, they do have a lot going on, as I said, as far as pickups. A ton of running backs they got there. Linebackers, they've been trying to beef up the defense. But like I said, they got Tyrod Taylor. So if he's there, I'm nothing against Tyrod, but they're going under. Deshaun there, they go over. It's predicted that they will be under by their reporter. Indianapolis Colts over under is 10. I think that's cool. But they have Carson Wentz. Unless for whatever reason he comes back and has an MVP season, I believe they will go under this 10 win. Predicted to be even at 10. Okay, that keeps them in competing in this division, but guess we'll see about that. I don't know. But it's going to take a lot. Like I said, it's not going to be what we just saw them competing, tying it up with Tennessee Titans to compete into the playoffs. I don't see that being the case. Definitely see a slight decrease there in productivity. Sorry, not sorry. All right. Jacksonville Jaguars over under 6. That's interesting. I thought it would have been higher. I mean, everybody's expecting Trevor Lawrence to go there. Maybe they don't change until he get there. In free agency, they got cornerback Shaquille Griffin, safety Rashawn Jenkins, defensive tackle Roy Robertson Harris, DN Jahid Ward, These people that have, really came out and shown themselves in the past. So I give it pretty good confidence to say that defense is going to be a lot better, and then just adding Trevor Lawrence. Predicting that Trevor Lawrence is going one to them, I think that's great. Partnering up with Urban Meyer, I give them over because I think they can win at least 7. I think Jacksonville could win at least 7. They're not going to be this terrible team next year. I'm an optimist, so sue me. They're predicted to go under, which will be interesting because I'm pretty sure that'll make them in last place again in this division. But who knows? I don't think they're going to win the division, but I think they could do at least 7, man. They should win at least 7 games. Tennessee Titans, over-under is 9.5. Okay. 9.5 is a fair prediction, I guess. Saying that they will be technically possibly a little worse than this past season where they came in first place at 11-5 in the division. But I think they still have the manpower to beat all of their division teams very well. This past season, they only lost 1 game in their division. But they're a solid team. I don't think they're losing a beat. They came in 3rd overall for as offensive leaders with almost 400 yards per game. That's solid, mainly in rushing, because we know King Henry had his 2K season. They were 2nd in rushing per game this past season, and they were 1st in turnovers. So they had 11, and that's like the difference between as many as you lost, as many as you got. So they were in the game for making sure they capitalize on all of that. They're over for sure. I got them over. I don't ever see why they would be under that. Well, not ever, but in fact, they got AJ Brown, Ryan Tannehill. That's good. That's good enough for me. They picked up Bud Dupree. Definitely over. Predicted to go over. So somebody that agrees with me yet again. AFC West. All right, AFC West is compiled of Kansas City Chiefs, Las Vegas Raiders, Los Angeles Chargers, and the Denver Broncos. So, very competitive. All right. Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos over-under is 7.5. Okay. So, I'm going to pick under. Yes, I know. 17-game season. I'm saying that they're not going to go anywhere near 500. I understand that. But there's really nothing they can do, even with, getting somebody in the draft. No, they struggled this past season. They didn't make enough moves for me personally, in my opinion, to do anything special in this offseason with free agency. They cannot lean on the draft alone. They don't have anything special just really going on over there for them. It's the best that I believe they got. Okay, and not saying that they can't be, in the rebuilding phase, but it's just not enough. It's just not enough. I mean, Cortland Sutton coming back, hopefully, yes, have a better season. But, I mean, unless you get somebody that's 20 times better than Drew Lock and surprise me and prove me wrong, then that's where I got you. All right? Now, they're predicted to go over. So, one that does not agree with me. Guess we will see who's telling the truth here. Kansas City Chiefs. Over-under is 12. What's such a safe over-under? Okay. It's the Chiefs. It's Andy Reid. It's Pat Baby Goat Mahomes. We're talking Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. I know they had a pretty bad Super Bowl, but come on now. Y'all know who the Chiefs are after what we've seen these last 2 years. You know that was the worst you've ever seen them, and that does not mean that's how it's going to transition. If anything, that means they're coming back stronger. Just how when somebody wins Super Bowl, everybody's like, okay, they're gunning for them. Sometimes they come off and still have the Super Bowl blues and just blow it. When a team that is good gets done like that, best believe they come back with a vengeance, y'all. They come back with a vengeance. 17 games. You're telling me they're going to only win 12? Over. Kansas City will be over for sure. Okay, they went 14-2 this past season. So DJ, are you saying they are, gonna win more possibly than their 14-2, or are going to go even? Yes, at minimum they go 14-3. All right, that's what I'm saying. They lost 2 games in their division. One to Las Vegas. I don't think that's happening again. Okay, one to the Chargers in a close game. So I think they win this division again. You're hearing it here, and their minimum of wins is 14. All right, so go put your money on that now. All right, their prediction is to be even at 12. So somebody's losing faith in their team. I'm messing with you. All right, Las Vegas Raiders over under at 8. That's interesting to say. You know, they went 8-8 this past season, so I guess you're saying they're going 8-9. I think that's fair. I'll say even. The prediction is that they actually go over. Okay, so faith over there in Las Vegas. I'm not mad at it. And then the last team, which is the Los Angeles Chargers, over under is 9. They fired their head coach, man. Justin Herbert's a beast, though. They got an all-pro center in Corey Linsley. Tight end Jared Cook got signed to replace Hunter Henry. And they have Keenan Allen at receiver. Austin Eckler is getting healthy. Dang, they got some. It's hard to say, man. Joey Bosa. Over under 9. So would it be at least 500? Maybe. I will give them over. I'll give them over now because it's still not gonna beat Kansas City, but I think Los Angeles Raiders are gonna go up to that number 2 spot. They'll get bumped up from the 3, like they just won 7-9 this past season, so they struggled. They were under, but they're gonna beat out the Broncos and the Raiders for the number 2 spot. I say they go at least 10, right? So yeah, over for me. They're predicted to go over. Excellent. So I think, what was that, guys? Like, most agreed, because I'm not going to count the ones that were even, but the ones that I said over under for, most of their people agreed, except for I think 2, right? Sounds about right. But as you know, I usually do. I like usually splitting some of this stuff up, just for the enjoyment, just for the content, just so I can, actually talk instead of just spitting stuff out. I can actually discuss each team and what I think about them. So that's the AFC, man, and catch me next episode to hear about the over and under and my predictions for the NFC East. We'll discuss those teams. All right. As always, man, I appreciate you guys for listening, tuning in. That tells me a lot already. But of course, I always appreciate some direct feedback. So don't be afraid to go ahead and subscribe, of course. All right. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. When you subscribe, please write reviews. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about me, content. Maybe even some things you would like to hear me talk about, or some segments you would like me to incorporate. I keep doing these different ones here. New news, of course, is always going to be there. But then, I've had different things as far as talking about position ratings, what's talks in sports, things of that nature. Also, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all social media platforms, GSMC_football. All right. I'm your host, DJ Youngs. I appreciate your time. Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Enjoy the rest of your day. All right. Peace out, everybody.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.